We do expect people who really are children to make lifetime choices. And if you don't come from a background where further and higher education are valued, what do? It takes a lot to change ideas that have been in your family for generations. I've had students.
This is Annie Dehaney-Steven. She's just started a new online tutoring business called My Learning Curve. And as you'll hear, she is incredibly passionate about helping young people achieve their best, particularly when it comes to the field of maths. She's got some pretty strong ideas about why some young people are being failed by the existing system, particularly when it comes to maths education, and she's got some ideas about what can be done to help them as well. And if you'd love to start something new, but you think you're too old, well, listen in, because Annie's going to show you just what you can do. I'm Jeremy Klein, and this is Change Work Life. Hello and welcome to the Change Work Life podcast, the show that's all about helping you beat those Sunday evening blues. My guest this week is Annie Dehaney-Steven, founder of online tutoring business My Learning Curve. I've actually known Annie for quite a few years, but mainly as a musician. She is an unbelievably talented jazz singer and brass player, and you'll pick up during the interview just how passionate she is about music. It was only relatively recently that I found out that she was planning to start her own business, that she was moving from being a teacher to online tutoring. So I really wanted to have her on the show just to find out why she was making this change and how she was doing it. She really is at the very start of her journey, and it's really exciting to hear in the moment just what she's planning on doing. Do stick around to the end. Annie has some great ideas about how to better improve maths education, and she's really interested in finding out about your views on how maths education for adults can be improved. So if you've got an opinion on that, then stick around to the end and you can find out how to get in touch with Annie and help her make maths education better. So without further ado, let's dive into the interview. Hi Annie, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's brilliant to have you with us. Well, let's go straight in. And very excitingly, I think you are either have just started a business or in the process of starting your own business. So can you tell us a bit more about what you're doing?
I'm in the process of starting an online tutoring business. I'm a maths and science teacher and a musician. And I teach in a college, but I also tutor face-to-face. But I've decided to start tutoring online groups of youngsters doing GCSE and a few one-to-ones, and I'm going to launch it in the summer. At the moment I'm writing all the lessons, writing all the resources.
Fantastic. And is this something intended to replace your day job or supplement it, or?
To replace it. I want to spend more time doing things I want to do. I'm getting married in the summer, so I want to spend more time with my new husband and doing music, a lot more time doing music. But my earning power is through teaching, teaching maths and science. So this is the way to do it, I think. And because it's going to be online and because curricula are much the same world over, and I've looked at lots of them, of the English-speaking world, I should be able to reach anyone who is able to use their computer when I'm going out on the air. So I can teach worldwide, a few groups, maybe up to 10 people at a time.
Fantastic. So how did you get into teaching in the first place?
I started in science. I was a chemist for many years, an analytical chemist in a polymer company. And I enjoyed learning to do new things and teaching my colleagues how to do new things. And I confused teaching and training. So I retrained as a teacher to teach science. The first college I worked in, science disappeared fairly quickly. I went in there as a pastoral tutor. Science, they got rid of science. And so I went from college to school teaching maths. I taught maths and science in a school for very disturbed children for about 6 months, which was quite hard. And then I found the college I'm in now in 2013, and I've been teaching science and maths there for the last 5 years or so.
And so when you say you confused training and teaching, does that mean actually you would rather have been doing training rather than teaching?
I think on hindsight, I would have been better fitted to training, because training to some extent implies a level of engagement with the person you're training that you don't necessarily have with a child. Everyone I've taught has had to do maths, whether they wanted to or not. And my feeling is, unfortunately, that if a child doesn't get a good start in maths, or come from a family where there's a good feeling about maths, once they get to the teenage years, which is the years I teach, it's very, very difficult to get them back. And if after 11 years of doing maths at school, they still feel uncomfortable about maths at 16, it's an uphill struggle. I make it as pleasant as possible, and I do enjoy 16-year-olds. They can be absolutely lovely. But very often they've been told how bad they are so much over the years, it's very difficult to get them back to maths. When you're training somebody, they want to know more about something they want to do, be it for work or pure interest. But they have chosen to do that by virtue of the fact they're working in that department, so they might want to learn more about something. It's just a different mindset, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And so you say you teach 16-year-olds. Is that 16-year-olds who are about to do their exams at 16, or are you talking sort of post-16?
Post-16, it's children who have taken their GCSE and not got the required level 4, which is the equivalent of a C. Okay. So if they go to college, they have to take it until they pass, if they don't hit 18 first.
Right. Yes, so I can see the difference between that sort of person who maybe they didn't take to it, they didn't get the grade first time, as against someone who actually thinks, hey, I need some training in a particular topic, so I'm going to go and get some training.
I was going to say, I think the problem with 16-year-olds is that, and it's not a problem, we were all 16 once, they can't always see ahead, and they can't see that maths is important. Maths can be a bit of a Marmite subject.
Yes. Absolutely. So going back, I'm still kind of curious as to, well, what other options did you explore before going into teaching, or did you explore other options before you went into teaching?
No, I didn't. My story was a bit strange because I hadn't worked for several years before going into science. I was my mother's carer. So I hadn't worked for 12 years, and I went into science when I was 40. First job in 12 years. And a new field, because I'd taken my chemistry degree while I was looking after my mum. And I did love being a chemist, but I had absolutely, at age 40, no life plan. I had no idea of what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do chemistry. I just wanted to work in a lab. When I realised that working in the lab wasn't quite enough, I wanted to do more. My first thought was teaching, because I thought that at 48, I probably wouldn't be good for anything else. I've changed quite a lot in the last 12 years, but I really did feel at 48 that life was coming to an end and teaching was where it was at. And I don't regret that move. Teaching has been fascinating, and I've learned a lot from it, and I've met some wonderful people. And being a teacher has given me a chance to really explore myself for the first time. 12 years of caring, I didn't even know whether I was ever going to work again, because I didn't know how long I was going to have a mum. And but the time I've spent in teaching has given me time to think things over. And I'm very, very certain that education is the way. I'm also, I'm not convinced, and this is going to sound a little bit odd, that education when you're 16 is definitely the way. I think people think that if they haven't achieved by the time they're 16, they never will. Whereas people are learning, well into their 60s and 70s. I'm of the opinion at the moment that raising the school leaving age to 18 was a bit of a mistake, and that when youngsters have been in the workplace for a few years doing a job they don't enjoy, they're more likely to come back into part-time education and do well in maths and English. And another reason for wanting to do online tutoring is that I can be available for people after work and before work.
It is
at times when I wouldn't necessarily be available.
Yeah. It is kind of an odd system, isn't it, where you're almost expected to have made a lot of choices by the time you're 16 and 18. And frankly, most people when they're 16, 18 and older, and I include myself in this, don't have a clue what you're doing or what you want to do or anything like that.
No. We do expect people who really are children to make lifetime choices. And if you don't come from a background where further and higher education are valued, what do? It takes a lot to change ideas that have been in your family for generations. I've had students over the last few years who are going to be the first people to work in their family for 4 generations, who really want to work. I also have people who have 3 generations of non-workers behind them, and they don't intend to work either. So it takes a very strong person to move out of a box that's been made for you. And I think we expect 16-year-olds to make some very sensible choices when they are just children. So learning later and learning at your own pace at a time you want to learn, I think is the way to go about it now.
I just wanted to go back to something that you said when you made the decision to go into teaching. You said you didn't think you'd be good for anything else. I'm just wondering where that came from. If that was purely an internal thing or there was external influences.
I think I was a product of the idea that when you get to 18, if you haven't achieved, you're not going to achieve. And so I had quite surprised myself when I took an Open University chemistry degree and got my degree in my 30s, especially since I was caring for my mum 20 hours a day and I had my children as well. And I just used to study all night. And I surprised myself by getting this first job in 12 years doing something I really wanted to do. That amazed me. I think by the time I got to 48 and realised I wanted more, I felt that my luck had kind of run out. I'd got a job at 40, having not worked since I was 28. And I thought I'd be very, very lucky to get anything. And teaching was the only thing I could think of that I knew I could do that would be of some use to somebody. And I also knew people who were my age who were going into a teaching career. If you work in the further education field, and I did some voluntary work in a college before I changed my career, helping to teach English, you realise that an awful lot of people in further education are on 2nd or 3rd careers. You'll be a florist and then you'll go and teach floristry, or you'll be a nurse and then you'll go and teach social care, health and social care. So I did know of people who had moved into teaching, and I knew people who'd moved into teaching who were older than I was. So, and it wouldn't have occurred to me to go and teach in a school or to train to teach in a school, because I felt that young people, when trained as school teachers, and they became school teachers for life. So it had to be a college teacher or college lecturer I retrained to be.
And what made you think that, as you put it, your luck had run out, that this was kind of the thing that you thought that you could go into? And I mean, you kind of make it sound as though you kind of thought that that was your only option.
I felt that my age was in my way. I felt very much that no one was going to look at a 48-year-old novice. Even I felt that having got a job in science at 40, and it was a job I loved, I had a lot of autonomy, I learned a lot in doing it. I felt I'd been so lucky to get that lightning doesn't strike twice. And I felt I'd been so lucky. I'd got this wonderful boss who'd taken me on, and he'd encouraged me a lot. He'd put a lot of faith in me. And I felt I'd be very lucky to have anyone invest that in me again. I no longer feel that, by the way. I know people a lot older than 48 who I would invest everything in. But it's difficult to think about it now, but things have changed a lot in the last decade, I feel. To be an older woman, which I was even then, it's a lot easier to be an older woman now than it was in the early 2000s.
Do you see anything that's been a particular driving force in that change that means that now there are more opportunities?
I think more women have stood up and said, I am able to do this. I know I don't know what the numbers are, but there's been a big increase in women becoming their own bosses, which is what I'm doing. Small companies. Also, I think that the part of the world where we live, where money is plentiful and we have, freedom, we're all out looking for that artisanal product. Everybody wants something that they can see the hands of the person who's made it. So I don't know, Ben & Jerry's now belongs to some big company, but it started off as Ben & Jerry. And we like that small, we like to feel that something is small and has been made by someone lovingly, someone who really loved making it. Body Shop, until Anita Roddick sold out, it always felt like something wonderful and meant just for us. I think we're all looking for that special product now that is made just for us, which I think online education can be. It's one of those, and it's women in the main, I think, who have driven that movement towards the best for my children, the best for me, the best for my family. Artisanal breads, good coffees, and good education, I think, are all part of that nurturing.
So that's the sort of the framework and the background that you're working in. But I'm curious as to why, though, it's right for you and it's right for you now. I mean, you said you started teaching when you were 48. You've been in teaching for 12 years.
Yeah.
Anyone else who wants to do the maths?
I'm just under 59.
So why now? I mean, teaching, yeah, absolutely, it's a tough career, but I mean, I'm assuming it has certain perks with it, like there's the long holidays, there's pensions and that sort of thing. So it kind of seems like it would be the path of least resistance just to stick it out for a few years longer. And here you are starting your own business. So why is this something that you need to do now?
There are a couple of reasons. One is I have no young children anymore. My youngest child is 28. I am fully supported. So I'm teaching very part-time at the moment, because in September I stopped teaching full-time to get ready to do this. So I'm teaching a few hours a week. I've got a certain amount of freedom, and that's really nice. I don't want to give up that freedom. Another reason for me is it's a little more political, really. I don't like the way the FE college system is going, having worked in it since 2008, almost continuously. It's too much about money and too little about growing the student. I've had classes where a student will be doing their GCSE for the third time, and where they don't turn up for the lessons, and they don't turn up for their vocational course either, but they're kept on the course because while they're on the course, the college gets paid for them. It doesn't do them any good. They are students who would be far better told, I'm afraid you haven't got a place for this year. If you want to come back next year and you feel that you're able to work, come back and we'll give you a space. Too many students at college are just waiting until they're 18 and they've got somewhere to go. They go to college, they've got somewhere to go. And while they're in college and while they're under 18, their benefits are still paid. So they don't have anything that tells them, I must work hard at this education, I must take this second chance, or I must go out to work. There's not enough impetus. There's nothing to make them make a decision about what they're going to do. And I no longer want to be part of that. I'd rather be part of something where there's a small outlay and you work and you get something for it. Having said that, I'm not against free education, and I'm not for private education in any way. But I think education should be there when you're ready to take it. And there should be an amount of you giving to get something back. I have come to the point where if one more student says to me, you're the teacher, you've got to tell me the answer, I'm going to go mad. Most don't do that. And in fact, this year, as I say, I'm working very part-time this year, and my students are all kids who have been homeschooled and they're taking their GCSEs at my college. And they are amazing because they're very motivated. Homeschooling doesn't always work, and I'm sure I have some students for whom homeschooling has been disastrous, but it does mean that they are not waiting for someone to give them the answers. They will open a book and they will read and they will research and they will ask me questions. And I want more of that. I don't feel anymore that I should be spoon feeding. I now feel that I should be helping people to draw out what they can do, because everyone is good at something. And in the FE system, we're no longer looking at what people are good at. We're just seeing how many people we can get in the classroom for how many thousand a year. It's very much a money game, which is sad.
You're clearly not, I take it, sort of just trying to find something to do for the next couple of years before retirement. I mean, I get the impression that this is more of a, a bit of a mission, really, isn't it? Is that right?
I am on a mission.
So how long do you think you'll be doing it?
I would like if I could look. Well, I'll be doing this, I think, for as long as I am able to do it. But I'll be doing it on a very part-time basis. I would like to be able to, 5 years down the line, I would like to be able to take my ideas on teaching and on using technology for teaching into schools and colleges, and see if we can change the way things are done, whether some things are better done at home and then built on in schools and colleges, which should be entirely possible. Every child now has access to a smartphone. Mm-hmm. And I think if I can do some work using the internet for the next couple of years, I should be able to get some good ideas together.
And so is there either a part of you or others that you've spoken to, sort of friends or family, who go, yeah, but come on, Annie, I mean, you don't want to be embarking on this mission now. You should be, winding down, getting ready for retirement with your new husband and that sort of thing.
No. No. I don't ever want to wind down. I don't want to find myself waking up in the morning and not having a plan for the day. Even if it's just, if I plan to spend an hour online with half a dozen young people doing some maths or some science, that will be something to get out of bed for.
So I
don't want to retire.
You can really see yourself doing this basically for as long as you are able to.
I will time my own demise for the end of a 12-week algebra course. So I will give my last 12-week algebra course, and then I will pop my clogs, and I will be well into my early hundreds, I hope.
Wow, that's some ambition.
It's good to have something to aim for. Of course, it will be my hologram teaching by then.
Yes, it probably will, yeah. Fantastic. So in terms of, I mean, this sort of shift to online and all that sort of thing, is this something that you've just worked out yourself, or and even the shift actually from being a teacher, being employed, to starting your own business, is this all something that you're kind of muddling through as you do it, or have you had any sort of coaching or mentoring or anything like that to help you with this?
When I decided that it was something I wanted to do, I found a program called How to Tutor Online, which is run by a lovely educator called Deanie Judd. And I bought her course, and I've been working through her How to Tutor Online course, which covers everything, covers all the background stuff, the making of a website and lead magnets and stuff. And all I have to add is my expertise. And that's been absolutely invaluable. It's a course that takes a while. It's taken me the last couple of months to get through. And it's quite a complicated business. And I think you probably know how complicated it is to do these things. But I have my website in construction, under construction at the moment. And my lessons are piling up on post-it notes on my study wall. But also I have a Facebook friend called Nick Bettini, who has a page called Just Play, and he deals mainly with musicians, and music is my great love. And I read a lot of his posts. I've been interviewed by him a couple of times. And I've been to a networking event that he was at. And he has been, to me, a great encourager. So the thoughts of teaching online that were in the back of my head, I slowly came to the realization that they didn't have to stay in the back of my head, that I do have it within me to do what I want to do. Tutoring face-to-face, which I've been doing for a few years and which is lovely, has given me the skills I need to dig down into the bits that people don't know. Sometimes you can be doing quite a complicated piece of maths, and you realise when you've got someone in a small group, you realise that somebody has missed something very, very basic, maybe years ago, and it's quite easy to fix that once you realise it. It's far better than teaching a whole class. It's far easier to see problems than when you're teaching a whole class. So really, it's Deanie Judd, Nick Bettini, and face-to-face tutoring. They've all come together at the right time, at a time when I really do feel like a change, but I know that I don't want to stop.
And just going back to the course you mentioned, I mean, I happen to think that there is a real place for online courses. It's a real good way of learning things, but there's just so much out there. And I think people do tend to be a bit skeptical as to whether they're going to get value for forking out. I mean, it could be anything from £10 to £10,000, I think, for some courses. Yes. So can you talk a little bit about how you were confident of taking this course, that this course would do for you what you wanted it to?
Deanie Judd's lead magnet, the thing that drew me in and made me give her my email address, was, I think I found it on Facebook, was very good. And then it led me to a presentation she was doing, a 40-minute presentation. And she used all the online tricks to get me to watch this presentation, and I'm glad I did. She came across as being very genuine, and I belong to a Facebook group that she runs for people taking the course, and we have meetings twice a week that are not compulsory, but there's a great genuineness about her. So although choosing her was a leap into the dark, that first 40-minute presentation, which was free, cemented it for me. I then knew that I wanted to follow this course. And it's because of her online presence, which is quite important. I also know that when it comes to getting tutees, it's a numbers game. There are a lot of people out there who will want some online support, and I am marketing myself for nervous students, which is the type of student I excel with. Really, I'm quite good at that.
Well, that was what I wanted to ask you. Actually, is what now that you've decided you're going down this route? How are you planning to build up your book, to build up your client base?
I'm writing my lead magnets at the moment. A lead magnet is something you give, a free gift you give in return for an email address. And at the moment I'm making videos on how to use the 7 equations you must be able to do for GCSE that you are no longer given in the paper. So you must be able to do them, and you're not reminded which formula you need at all. And my idea is that people will send me their email. I'm going to do an advertising thing. They'll send me their email, and I will send them each day a new video on how to tackle this sort of question, and then hope that they want to buy the course. I'm lucky in that if it doesn't work straight away, I've got time. I'm not going to give up if I don't get a full set of students by the end of the summer holidays. I have got time, and I'll play the waiting game. I have got other things I can do. But it's just going to be getting out there and selling the courses as much as I can. I did some study when I was taking a course in teaching maths, because my degree was in chemistry. I did some study about maths anxiety, which is a real thing. And since then, I've been very aware that when people are anxious about maths, they are truly anxious. I mean, they get the palpitations, they get the inability to say anything without falling over their tongue, they break out in a sweat. It's a very, very real thing. And I've always been very good with teaching people who are quite scared, quite nervous of maths. And so I'm going to go for that sort of student, nervous sort of student who wants somebody who understands how they feel.
I think that's incredibly powerful. How you know who you're targeting, and you know what your niche is. You know what your superpower is.
Yes.
And I think as people go into, or anyone who contemplates going into a business for themselves, that's actually really important that you know who you're aiming for, and quite specifically.
Yes. I think there are people who are going for the high flyers. There are people who only want to tutor A-level maths or A-level English. But I feel to an extent that those who are very good at something are going to be good no matter what they're teaching at school or college is like. They're going to be good. I'm looking for the ones who don't think they can do it, because I know they can do it. It's just a different way of getting to them. So if I can present courses where I'm online with them once a week, and I've provided PDFs and I've provided videos, where they can practice what we've been doing, where I can answer questions, maybe online or via a Facebook page, which is much the way I do my face-to-face tutoring. I'm very much one for you can get in touch with me. You can ask me questions. I don't mind how far back we have to go to fix this problem. I think what students need, no matter how old they are, and I'm hoping to get some adult students who want to improve their maths, what math students need is some success. And if you can show somebody who's never had any math success that they can achieve something, you're more than halfway there, because maths is a mixture of knowledge and confidence, more than any other subject, I think. No one in the world thinks they have to know anything about science. Everybody thinks they have to know something about maths, and there is a great stigma to feeling uncomfortable about maths, and I think it's time we worked on that. I think it's time we got rid of that. Fantastic. And made it easier for people to say, I don't know how to do this, will you please help me? And I think lots of us, I think all teachers should be offering some sort of extracurricular maths, be it online with their students or through Google Classrooms or through doing stuff on a Saturday in the local library. It's time to popularise maths.
Brilliant.
In a practical way, I think.
That sounds absolutely fantastic, and good luck with it. I mean, I wholeheartedly behind you. I think what you're looking to achieve here, it just sounds absolutely unbelievable. Annie, you've mentioned a couple of people who've really helped you sort of get to where you are now and help you get to where you want to go. Do you have any other resources or books or quotes or anything that that you can share that might help other people looking to make some kind of a change?
I think something that I keep in my mind when I'm not sure whether change is going to be possible. It's an old saw, and I don't know how useful people find it, but I remember that if I continue, that I'm not going to make any changes unless I make some changes. So I have kept myself going by telling myself that if I just trundle into college 5 days a week and teach in the way that didn't work last week, nothing's going to change this week. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. I think you have to remind yourself that nothing is going to change unless you change it. I think that's very important. I think one thing Nick Bettini makes me think of with his Facebook page, Just Play, and his book, Just Play, is I take just play as meaning just do it. If you want to do something, just do it. You will find a way to do it. When I was taking my chemistry degree, I had 3 young children, one of them in a wheelchair, and I had my mother who was completely disabled. And the only thing that stopped me, 2 things that stopped me from going around the bend, were playing for a brass band, which I loved. So for 4 hours a week, I had nothing to do but think of me, and doing my studies, doing my OU studies. And in the middle of the night, when I was tired and the daylight was just about to come and I was going to have to go and look after somebody, mum or a child, it was the thought that at least I was doing my studying for me. It was something entirely for me, and it would make a difference one day. I can't say I always believed it would make a difference, because I didn't think anyone was going to take a novice chemist at 40. But it's doing things for yourself. It's doing something rather than doing nothing. I think is very, very important. Absolutely. And I listened to a man when I was already teaching and had a terrible time. We had 3 inspections all at one time at college, and I was on the edge of giving up teaching altogether. And this lovely teacher trainer called Derek Hubie just picked me up and put me back together. And I think it's Derek Hubie, Deanie Judd, and Nick Bettini, and the fact that I'm a really stubborn woman that gets me to where I want to be. And I know this is going to succeed. I may not be a world-class entrepreneur in a year's time, but 5 years down the line, I'm going to have made it. And that's, 5 years after the next 40 is no time at all.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Annie. Where can people find you if they want to find a bit more about what you do and what you offer and that sort of thing?
Well, my website, it's under construction, but it will be live and buzzing very, very soon. I don't yet have a My Learning Curve Facebook page, but I can be reached through Annie Dehaney-Steven on Facebook by private message or by public message. And that's it, really. I would like, if I got anything out of today, I would really like to find out how people feel, how grown-ups feel about maths, and whether there's something we can do together to make maths easier for ourselves and for our children, actually. I think too often we leave things to teachers and we expect them to make mathematicians out of our children. But there are things we can do, I think.
There's an action point for the listeners. If either you struggle with maths or maybe you've got kids who struggle with maths and you'd like to reach out to Annie and talk about that, then do get in contact with her. Annie, thank you so much. This has been absolutely fascinating. It's been a really, really wonderful conversation. Good luck with it. And thank you so much for appearing on the podcast.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Annie Dehaney-Steven, founder of My Learning Curve. Some great takeaways, particularly for me, was this takeaway about how really it is never too late to start something. Annie described this desire these days to look for these homemade, these artisan products, and that doesn't just apply to a loaf of bread or a piece of cheese or whatever, but also to the sorts of service which Annie's offering, the tutoring service. And it's now is just a great time to be starting to do this sort of thing. It's a brilliant time, and well, Annie's just showing that it really is never too late. You'll find on the show notes page links to Annie's contact details, so do get in touch with her. If you've got some ideas about how adult maths education can be improved, then get in touch. You'll also find the links to the resources that she mentioned. They'll be on the show notes page as well, and you'll find all that at changeworklife.com/4. That's changeworklife.com/4. That's number 4 because this is episode 4. If you want to be inspired by more stories like Annie's, then do hit subscribe and you'll get your weekly dose of career change goodness. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the Change Work Life podcast. Cheers. Bye.